I was thinking about this whole holiday. What's it mean to you? And I figured it would be a good topic of discussion. Pretty apropos. Heading into the home stretch of Shocktober here. And it kind of makes you think about why we did this and why are we here?
It's a little metaphysical for this channel, but we'll give it our best shot.
We'll give it our best shot. And it's something that actually we were out and about going to a couple of the old costume shops and started realizing, you know, like Linus and what's that?
Charlie Brown.
Yeah, Charlie Brown. I was trying to think of the actual
The
name
Peanuts
of it.
Gang.
The Peanuts Gang. But the commercialization of Halloween. And whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, or how much has Halloween changed since we were kids. And I think at the end of the conversation, or we kind of mused on it a little bit, we both kind of came out with a kind of a negative opinion of what Halloween is today. And you said something that really caught with me, is the impermanence or the temporary nature of Halloween. You want to elaborate?
Okay, let me elaborate a little bit on what I mean. Is it's going to be a little out there. Basically, in my mind, there's a few holy days every year. And I'm not talking necessarily anything to do with the religious aspects of certain holidays, but you know, there are certain days, I think, that were very important to people around the world, and Halloween coincidentally falls on one of those days. I like to think of Halloween as basically a harvest festival.
Yeah.
Where winter's coming, and this is going to be probably one of the last big chances to have a get-together or a bash.
Yeah.
Before the snow falls.
Yeah, before you can start counting on having the passes through the valleys and mountains get clogged up with snow.
Yeah.
So
you might not see some of these people again back in the day.
No, and it would be months, you know, 5-6 months if you're lucky, before you'd see another living soul. So you use these times to get together and recollect kind of community. And that's what the harvest festivals generally did, especially in North America. You know, we have Thanksgiving and stuff like that too. And, you know, it's all in that area. But then it also kind of gets misconstrued like that too, because now it's all about everyone having a good time. Which, you know...
Well, you know, it's the heart of it.
It's the heart of it. But then there's also the side where it's also a festival. Halloween is kind of a festival to remember the dead. And those that have passed on. And
the soldiers who aren't with us anymore.
Yeah, pour one out. But it's
true. Well, I think it's true.
I do too. But you know,
mind you, I don't think we have any real concrete facts to back up our the way we think.
It's just kind of musings.
Well, to me, it makes a lot of sense.
But it's also one of those things. I think you know, everyone talks about the scariness getting out of Halloween, and you know, I think in a lot of ways, just because of the way we live our lifestyle nowadays, a lot of the we won't see you for a while. You know, there's no, not desperation, but you know, the last chance to connect, and then it's time to buckle down and hunker down into your fortress and wait out the storms. And nowadays we can meet up whenever we want, pretty much. Like there's no danger, there's no worry.
Yeah, because you know, I would imagine that a few hundred years ago, maybe even less than that, the coming of winter. Yeah, I mean, the coming of winter would be a huge deal in your day-to-day life.
Oh yeah.
You know, I hope you have enough food to last, because, you know, if you're a farmer, you're not going to get any more than you got.
Yeah, you can't magically grow things in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And, no, I mean, there's a direness to the season that's disappeared, and it's not necessarily the scariness, but I guess the kind of finality of it. It pretty much is the end of the year as far as, you know, town hall is concerned, as far as neighbors are concerned, friends and family. you had to be crazy to go out in the wintertime. And now this festival, it's kind of also a way to pay respects to the communal dead, like people that passed on the community. And I don't think there's enough reverence towards that side.
No, I think it's it's quite obviously Charlie Brown railed against commercialism, and you and I went to Spirit Halloween the other day, and just to have a little look around, and things have gotten, in my mind, way off track from what should be appropriate.
I think so too.
Like I hate to be a wet blanket for this holiday, but there's probably a very real reason why it survived as long as it has, and why we did it in the first place.
Well, not only that, it's one of those. I consider it a holiday. It's not a holiday, but I consider it one of those magical days of the year where it's contrarian to pretty much everything else because it's so dire, and I think the tone is to be very respectful, and you don't thumb your nose in the face of the darkness or evil spirits and whatnot, because back then that could give you the kind of bad luck that'll screw you over.
Yeah.
And it's an extremely spiritual time, and not so much like, oh, it's ghosts and specters and phantasms.
Or little Thors or Iron Men running around.
You look back at Halloween, a lot of the festivities used to be kind of based around, paying reverence and thanking spirits and whatnot too. Like, it's not all bad, it's not all evil, but I can see where if you didn't pay the right penance, it'd come down on you, come back on you, kind of karmic almost. But yeah, that Halloween store just didn't fill me with the right vibe, and I know the bare minimum that a lot of Halloween purists ask for now is for people to dress up in scary costumes, and I kind of agree with that. And it kind of saddens me, but I don't want to be the wet blanket either. But it saddens me to see all these Captain America costumes and SpongeBob SquarePants and all this stuff.
What was the big costume that you saw this year
For
sale?
The one that there seemed to be a big push for the Avengers stuff. The Walking Dead, of course, is always huge, but there's not really costumes for them. They just dress like normal people wearing backpacks, and there's a guy with a cowboy hat. That's about it. But by and large, it's a lot of superheroes, and I think that's probably the craziest thing about it. Is that seemingly the Halloween culture is now turned towards a pop culture movement than anything resembling what it should be.
Boy, we sound like a couple of Halloween hipsters right now.
Yeah, Halloween hipsters. No, I'm guilty of doing some of that stuff myself.
I'm not guilty of it.
No,
I always went as something scary.
Yeah, I've always had very esoteric costumes over the years.
What was the last costume you went as for real? For trick-or-treating real,
For trick-or-treating real?
Yeah.
I
was a vampire. I was Gary Oldman's vampire.
Gary Oldman the vampire. Geez, I think I went as Jason because we still had that hockey mask around.
Yeah.
And I just threw on some ratty old jeans and a beat-up T-shirt, and made a cleaver out of cardboard and tinfoil. And no, that was my costume. And for sure, I'm guilty of stepping over that line too. But the older I get, I think my taste is kind of refined back.
Well, we ran into a few problems in the movies we reviewed this month. And, sometimes it's a case of it not being enough. Like in Cannibal Campout, that movie is just not enough.
No, it starts off with a premise that you would expect something shows up, and then it just never does. And yeah, I mean, you'd want, and I'm not saying this is kind of condemning anyone that does things like this, but there's only so many classics. And you've kind of got to start giving newer films a chance and digging a little bit deeper to something you haven't seen, and you're going to dig up some absolute stinkers.
But basically what we're talking about here is has more closely to tie in with the movie Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
That we reviewed a while back.
Yeah.
And basically that story is about this little spirit of Halloween that is going to set things right.
Yeah, he's going around and he's kind of like Saint Nick, when he's checking his list.
Mm.
He's peeking in on the world and seeing if there's people that are holding true to, I guess, his lifeblood, which is the worshipping of the season kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a nice angle to it. I liked that about that movie quite a bit.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Is there used to be like you look at the words trick or treat. Tricks could be very devious and very underhanded.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever worries about the trick. They only worry about the treat these days.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a perfect kind of analogy to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Is if some kids come to your door and they say trick or treat, ask them for a trick, see what they do. They ain't gonna do nothing. They don't got the stuff.
Maybe they're asking us to perform a trick.
Well,
I could do one of these things with the see my magic.
Oh no! So it's one of those.
Yeah, probably looks really sick on camera too.
Yeah. Well, it's like the church in the steeple, out come the worms.
It's not really a trick. It's just.
Well,
we're talking about high magic here.
Optics. No, but it seems to be not dying an undignified death. I think Halloweens now are probably more fun than they've ever been.
Maybe.
Like, I'm not a kid, so I can't really, see what it's like on the street, like on the ground level.
Mm-hmm.
But, there always used to be the problem with Halloween costumes where you'd have the ones where obviously the parents were really good sewers and stuff like that. They make the best costumes. And then you see the kid running around every year as like a scarecrow or a hobo or something.
Wow.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but, nowadays you can go to the store and for $20-25 get a costume that looked better than most of what the other kids had back then.
Yeah.
But it's the flavor of those costumes that is kind of, that's the sour note.
Mm.
Is if I hit the lottery, I'd probably start up a Halloween company that made nothing but good scary costumes and bags for kids.
Okay.
And I'd make it cheaper than all the other stuff. Like, I'd price them lower, but it would be good costumes. And just see if there's a way to bring it back. And I'm not sure there is, but we were kind of thinking of ways to figure out, trying to brainstorm how to bring the season back to where its roots were. Like, respect the roots.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so easy now to slip into the.
Well, it's basically like, I don't know who said it, but it's like they were older guys, maybe grown-ups. They were grown-ups. They said Halloween is no big deal to me because I'm an adult. I can buy a big thing of candy any day I want.
Well, that's
was that Tracy Morgan that said that?
No, that was Lewis Black.
Uh-huh.
I can eat all the candy I want
On any given
because I'm
day.
an adult.
But it's like in like some Halloween parties, they're costumed, well, and not even that costumed, booze fests.
Yeah.
And there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but what makes that one day any more special than any other booze fest?
No, and it's, you're actually liable from my recollections and hearing other people talk about the stories. You're more likely to see strange costumes every given weekend as opposed to just Halloween. There's always going to be some shenanigans going on.
Mm-hmm. If they even bother to wear costumes at all.
Yeah. Like, I remember my university days. That was like the last 2 real parties I went to.
Mm-hmm.
And I went there. Yeah, half the people weren't even dressed up. They were just kind of dressed nicely.
Mm-hmm.
And you ask them, well, this is Halloween. It's supposed to be kind of dressing up, and they were just, well, they just couldn't be bothered. Didn't have time. fair enough.
Okay.
But
You know, for as many people as I hear say that they're all about Halloween, a lot of them don't seem to be actually at all, you know.
no, I mean, at some point you got to put your money where your mouth is, and you know, sack up. I don't know. I don't want to make it sound like a challenge, but don't say you're all about Halloween if you can't give a consistent effort on a year-to-year basis.
All right.
And you know, at this point, I think you and me are we're hitting that edge. If it wasn't for this, it'd be kind of a quiet Halloween this year.
Probably. Like I hand out the candy and stuff like that. Actually,
Yeah.
I'll probably be working, but you know, whatever.
It happens.
It happens.
But even then, the spirit's still there. You want to do it. It's just circumstances don't permit it.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, you know, I'm glad we have this outlet.
Mm-hmm.
It gives us a chance to once a year to give back in the way we want to give back. You know, no take backsies. Well, we're give backsies. And I think it's something that, in its own little way, I know we don't have a lot of viewers and a lot of subscribers, but that they take maybe some of the spirit of it to heart.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, getting all wholesome here on Halloween.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being wholesome.
No, there's nothing
You
wrong
know.
with being wholesome, but, you know, it's not all about candy, booze, and sexy costumes. It's fun, but
I've never been to any of those sexy parties.
neither have I.
I don't think they exist.
I've heard of them.
I've heard of them. I've heard tell 2 towns over.
2 counties over, I won a dog in a fair.
In a truth-telling contest, no doubt.
But, no, it's not hard. And for one day out of the year, I guess the question or the request I'm making is, don't always be about boozy and sexy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I think once you do that, you'll find it's a lot more enjoyable of a holiday if you can go out of your way to kind of give it the respect it deserves. Because I don't want it to die an undignified death. How about you?
Stay true to the roots.
Roots!